Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode on the show, Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And as always, I remain your host, Darlington. Why do so many relationships slowly lose their spark? Not because of betrayal or constant conflict, but because of quiet disconnection. Many couples love each other deeply, yet still feel distant. They communicate, share responsibilities, and build a life together. But somewhere along the way, the passion fades. Intimacy becomes routine, and both partners wonder what changed. Our guests today believe the answer goes much deeper than communication skills. Drawing on over 18 years together as partners, along with decades of experience helping individuals and couples, they explore how our nervous systems, emotional patterns, and relationship conditioning shape the way we love, connect, and grow. Today, we will talk about intimacy, attraction, and emotional safety, nervous system regulation, and what it really takes to create a relationship that doesn't just survive but truly comes alive. Our guest today is Pete and Kalindi. Pete and Kalindi, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. We're happy to be here.
Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed that introduction.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's great.
All right, so tell us about your journey together and what inspired you to create Living in Love.
Yeah, so we've been together actually nearly 19 years. And in that journey, I think we've gone through so many different kind of apps. We've had such a wonderful ride.
Yeah.
And we're having such a wonderful ride. And obviously over this amount of time, we've met every part of each other, and we've had challenges, we've had financial challenges. We've both got a son from previous partnerships. I'm a grandmother now, and there's so many different aspects of life that need attending. So of course it's been also like up and down roller coaster. And I think what sort of touched us some years ago is that people were asking us, people were coming towards us and going, well, what is it that you're doing? What is it that's working? We want to experience that too. Like, how come you're still having such a great, fulfilling sex life? How come you're still having so much fun together? And so a big part of how Living in Love evolved, I mean, we've always been in the well-being industry. We both started with being body workers from a long time ago.
We've both had a really deep kind of, I guess I would say spiritual path individually with meditation and with tantra and all sorts of things. So,
yeah. And so when we got together, we kind of pulled all these fascinations of life and started exploring them together. And so Living in Love was really formed from our own passion of how, I guess, also how much healing happens in relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've both always been fascinated in how can we as individuals learn and grow from our experience? How can we make things easier for ourselves? How can we meet the parts that feel needy, that feel broken, that feel unloved? And so we've both been on a journey with that, and then seeing how that plays into our relationship, and then helping each other to learn and to grow and to find more safety in relationship. And yeah, people, wherever we've gone, because we're kind of, we're fun, we're shiny, we love doing really, really wonderful things together. We dance a lot, we play a lot. And people have always just been attracted to us as a couple, and they want to know what have we got that other people don't. And I don't think we have anything that other people don't. We just have focused our attention on making our relationship beautiful, and so we focus on making our relationship with ourselves beautiful, and then with each other beautiful. And it has to be that way round. We have to do the work inside of ourselves and really enjoy being who I am, in order for me to be in right relationship with Kalindi, to enjoy her as she is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's really, really beautiful to hear about such a love story. So, Pete, your work focuses on the nervous system. What is nervous system regulation, and how does it influence the way we show up in our relationships?
Okay. So nervous system regulation for me is about coming out of reaction. When anything in life happens, we often have a response to it, and that response can either be a response that is grounded in presence and in awareness, or if it touches into something which is a trigger, then it becomes a reaction, And for me, nervous system regulation is very much about cultivating how my nervous system, how I respond to everything within my life. So within myself and within my interactions with other people. And I've been exploring my breath work and my breath ever since I was 5 years old. I had some injuries when I was 5, which led me into a very deep exploration of my breathing patterns. And I noticed very, very early on in my life that when I changed my breathing, I changed my emotional state. And then throughout my life, that grew and grew, that awareness grew, and those techniques that I played with grew and grew, until in my sort of early 20s, I actually had a nervous breakdown. Went onto medication for depression, and discovered that by using meditation and breath work, my whole state changed, and so came off my medication and really started following meditation and breath work, and started to really hone these skills inside of myself, how to regulate myself no matter what is going on in the world, no matter who is doing what. I have the power inside of myself to drop beneath the busyness of it, drop beneath the reaction of it, and come into a really deeply nourishing space within myself. So I learned to slow everything down, to drop out of the stories that my mind was telling me about what was happening, drop beneath that into the deeper flow of life and the deeper throb of life. And so this is what I do. This is what I share with people, how to come out of their stories and the meaning that their mind puts on their feelings, to come into a much, much deeper state of relaxation and regulation. And for me, that is done through using the mind, the awareness, and the breath. The key is the breath. Breath. When we change our breathing, everything changes. When we have an emotional reaction, our breathing will change. And so conversely, if we change our breathing, our emotional state will change. And so I love playing with all sorts of different tools and techniques to help people regulate. And everybody's different. Everybody's got a slightly different system and a different set of triggers. And so I've got a whole bunch of tools that I teach people to find the right one for their system to actually learn to regulate. And then when you're in regulation, you can come into a deeper state of relationship, because when we're in reaction, we're not in relationship. We're not in intimacy. We're not in presence. We're in reaction. And that's a whole different something. So regulation comes, then relationship can happen properly.
All right. Thank you so much, Faith.
Mm.
So, Kalindi, your work centers on intimacy and sexual healing. I love the fact that you guys work on two different aspects, like
Mm.
there's a division of labor.
Yes,
So,
yes,
your work centers on intimacy and sexual healing. Why do
yes.
so many people struggle to feel fully connected to themselves and their partners?
I mean, I think one of the things at this time in history, or not history of the past, but in this moment in time, is that life is so fast. Life is so full. I think more and more there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more pressure to get things done, a lot more pressure. There's so many more things to attend to. And I think a big part of that pulls people much more into their mind, much more into the to-do list. And so for starters, we're initially needing to encourage our body and encourage our mind to come out of all of that fullness about this has got to happen, that's got to happen, and all these things that we've got to do, and come into relationship with the moment. So I think disconnection starts. One of the things that a lot of people are experiencing is this kind of there's too much to do, there's too much overwhelm. And of course, intimacy it starts with how am I in this moment? Who am I in this moment? What am I? And that what helps us become into the moment is our connection with our body. Because our body is the one thing that isn't in the past or the future. Our thoughts can be in the past, our thoughts can be in the future, our emotions can be stimulated by something that's happened in the past or stimulated by a projected future. But the one thing that can only be here in this moment is our physical body. And so when we're too busy following where the fluctuations of the mind and emotions, we're not really being here. And so one of the things that we love to work with is teaching people to pay more attention to the sensation of their body, paying more attention to what's happening in your body, because that creates intimacy with a moment. That's the doorway, that's the opening. And so when people do this more, we've got this doorway opening. Okay, so then I'm here with my body, I can feel, and now we can actually feel the feelings of the moment rather than the emotions of the past or stimulated by the future. And then we can start to recognize, what do I actually need to think about now? What's important now? And so then we're cultivating this very core essence of moment intimacy. I don't know if anybody listening has ever experienced, in the middle of making love, being touched, and then you get your shopping list kind of popping into your mind, or you suddenly find a few minutes later you've actually been somewhere else in your thoughts. And then sometimes something might be happening that you're like, actually didn't really feel like that right now. And so and then ruptures can happen between couples because actually somebody hasn't really been in the room, and so I think connection starts with this process of opening the doorway of sensation through the body.
I think curiosity is a huge piece of that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that I notice more and more and encourage people to do is this curiosity. Like, what is it to be me in this moment? Am I actually listening to me? Am I listening to how I'm actually responding to what's happening around me? So yeah, curiosity is something. Being curious about ourselves, but also being curious about our partner, being curious about what's going on in the relationship. Really important piece of intimacy.
And when we're being curious, we're not being fixated on an outcome. We have to let go of it being a certain way and embrace how it is now. What is this moment? And when we embrace this moment, then we step into the magic once again.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Me, as I'm learning anyway, and I'm sure my audience, they are picking up one or two things from this. So, uh, communication is often presented as the solution to our relationship problems. So why do you believe communication alone isn't always enough?
Yeah, good question.
But I think it all depends on how communication is, for a start, because there's different qualities of communication. There's real communication, which again has curiosity woven through it, rather than trying to just get your point across. Often people, when they're having a conversation, they're trying to get their point across, or they're trying to justify their angle, their side of it. And as long as they're held to a fixed point, that doesn't give you space for the moment. That doesn't give you space for a new seeing, for perceiving a new understanding. So I think the quality of communication is absolutely key, and that again, as I've said, it comes through really deep listening. Really deep listening to not what the words are saying, but actually what's happening in my body. When I'm hearing this, what is happening in my body? And then being honest and talking around what is happening in my body, rather than following the narrative of what I think is happening. They're two very, very different things.
I think it's good to sort of note that everything's communication. So everything's communicating. So, the way our body, what we're feeling in our body is a communication. And I think often what gets not so deeply kind of considered in relating is that we think that having conversations with words is going to sort out the issues. But we can keep saying lots of different words to each other. But if our nervous system is contracted, if our body's contracted, if we're feeling tense and tight, but we're saying all the right words, our partner's not really going to feel that that's what's really happening. Because remember that our nervous systems talk to each other all the time. It's we respond to each other. I'm sure many of the listeners, you're at home, your partner comes in, and there's just a feeling in the space. You can just feel them. You might not know in your mind what's going on, but your body might contract, or your body might suddenly, your breath goes short, or suddenly you just feel a bit uncomfortable, and even though you haven't even had a conversation or said any words. And so a big part of attending is like, what are our bodily systems saying to each other? And so also communication is what I also believe, and we believe, is that there's also resonance. So underneath that bodily nervous system is like, what is our intention? It's kind of a bit like, what are we thinking? How are we thinking? What is the vibration of those thoughts telling our partner? So we might not, again, cognitively know what that is, but we can feel that there's an intention, there's a vibration, there's a sense of something going on underneath just the body nervous system response as well. So there's lots of different layers in which we're communicating to each other. And I think in a relationship, we need to become more aware of those. And we often love to share ways in which couples can have dialogue through the body, through those resonances, so that there's a deeper sense of understanding each other. Yeah.
Okay, so talking about attraction now, attraction attraction changes over time. naturally. So what actually causes the spark to fade? And can it genuinely be reignited?
Yeah, I think attraction is an energetic something rather than a visual something. Yes, obviously we get turned on by what we see, or we get attracted by what we see. But if we purely rely on that, then that fades, and there is a resonance inside every being. When people fall in love, they don't fall in love with what they see. Generally, they fall in love with how they feel in the other person's field. In the other person's energy, how they shine with this other person. And so, for me, attraction is very much about staying in really deep vibrational resonance with myself. So being connected with that, and then feeling that within the other as well, and staying attracted to, or staying in connection with these deeper feelings, and with this deeper resonance. And how do I show up with this other person? When I drop into this, then attraction is already there. It's like we're magnets. But if we are purely relying on our mind, and on our what we see and what we perceive through our eyes, that all changes. That all changes. And if we're kind of staying in the realms of our thinking mind, then our thoughts change all the time. What we like, what we don't like, can fluctuate. But if we're staying deeply in the resonance, then and we're really deeply allowing ourselves to enjoy our own resonance. Often people, when we speak to couples, they want each other to be sexier for them, but actually, when we're being sexy inside of our own energy, that kind of opens a doorway for that to happen with our beloved as well. It's not like our beloved has to be sexy and then we feel sexy. It's got to be the other way around. We have to take responsibility for our own side of attraction. And that comes definitely from intimacy with the moment, intimacy with ourselves, intimacy with the life force that we are, and loving being this. And when we're loving being this, we become attractive as an energetic and a magnetic pull. And when both of us are doing this, we are in this flow of attraction.
I think one of the key things in attraction is it takes conscious commitment. Actually, it takes each partner to be on that same journey of attending to the relationship in that particular way. And there are things that we both inspire couples to do, like small things, like on a daily basis, where it's like, just watching your partner, and what is it that lights you up about them? It's not about watching their physical body necessarily, but that also might be part of it. But is it a smile? Is it a twinkle in their eyes? Like, what is it that you can connect with, and then grow that part of your attraction to them? And I think when couples attend to the ruptures, because again, it'll be things like ongoing criticism, ongoing habits that the couple or a person in the relationship doesn't actually change, that can start to sort of deplete the energy and enthusiasm for a relationship if things don't evolve and change and move. This is something that we often see, is that then attraction fades. And so again, not holding each other hostage to being a certain way, but allowing each other to evolve, allowing each other, if they start to lose self-desire, how can we help our partners or help ourselves find self-desire? Like Pete was saying, like, how do we fall into self-desire, not just on a sexual level, but an emotional, mental level? How can we be interesting to ourselves? and we bring that into the partnership. But I think if habits and patterns keep spinning around and never seem to change, that's when we start to get stagnate and kind of spin, really. And so it just takes conscious attending to break those molds, actually.
And I think there's another key piece within relationship that is often unspoken, is attraction happens everywhere. You know, attraction happens with so many different things and so many different people. It just means that there is resonance there, you know. And when we celebrate in relationship, each other's attractions, you know, then that, rather than having to hide or suppress something that is incredibly natural and is part of who we are, when we start to celebrate this, it opens the door for more connection, for more love, for more juicy joy within our relationship. You know, just by knowing that we're really safe to be in attraction. You know, it doesn't have to go anywhere, but just letting ourselves be safe, that we know everybody has attraction with all sorts of different things and people. You know, it's just when people get into a relationship, they suddenly feel like the attraction has to be completely within the relationship, and that's an unreal thing. That you can't just do that. That doesn't work in us. We are attractive beings, so we get attracted to all sorts of different things and all sorts of different people. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful so far. You guys are actually very, very knowledgeable in terms of relationship. Okay, eh, so uh, for couples who have been emotionally distant for months or even years, where should they begin rebuilding their connection?
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, there has to be a willingness on both sides. And, you know, we've worked with couples where one partner's willing and the other isn't. And they're always quite challenging because it takes two to create a relationship, you know, and it takes two to put attention and attending and energy. Sometimes we found, though, that when a couple's coming to us in that state where one's not so willing, or sometimes it's just about finding what are they willing to do and what is it that they need. So sometimes people are it's working out, like if one person feels less able to bring their emotional self more fully into the relationship, and one person is really finding it that's what they really want, I think there's a bit of a journey. I mean, that's why coaches like ourselves exist, you know, just to unpack what is it that's creating resistance for that emotional relationship to unfold. And often it comes down to safety. Why are we not feeling emotionally safe? You know, I've had couples say, you know, they really want to share how they feel, but in the past they've just been shut down, or what they feel or think hasn't really been acknowledged, or their partner sort of rolls their eyes, or there's some defensiveness. And so the most important thing is to start to bring safety, meaning, like, and it's good to think of it for ourselves. What do we need if we were going to share how we feel and we're a bit nervous about it feels quite a vulnerable place to share ourselves emotionally? What could we do to create safety for each other? You know, and of course, the key components to that are not criticizing, not judging, not trying to fix, and not trying to make them right or wrong, but just it's almost like emotions definitely are not there to be fixed. They're there to be felt. And so when we can create a space in partnership to be able to go, this is how I feel, and we as both partners don't have to do anything with it. We just go, here it is. Let's feel it, and not fix it, and not overly absorb in it. It's just, so I think that's the key thing is how do you start to think about safety first, emotional safety, and non-judgmental space. And that's not to say that that we don't learn and observe, and I don't mean judgment, but like we can still have some reflections about those emotions, but it's not from a judgmental place. So that's where I would start looking at, is how do you both create a safe container where your feelings can be received, and what do you need from your partner, in what do you need from them, what is a safe way for them to receive your emotional sharing.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all so much. This has been so entertaining so far. Uh, so, having been together for more than 18 years, share with us one lesson about love that surprised both of you the most.
God, there's so many things. Love. Okay, so we spoke earlier a little bit about the energy of love, and the spark of love, and I think the spark of love can. I think the spark of love can grow. I know that the spark of love changes shape, but I actually feel more in love with Kalindi now than I did when I first met her, and I was incredibly deeply in love with her then, and it has grown and it has changed and it has morphed. It's changed shape. It's changed all sorts of things. But I would say that the love in me is deeper. It's more sustainable. It's more real. And through being in relationship and us exploring conscious relationship, and especially a lot of the kind of breathing practices and energy practices that we've explored, I know myself much deeper, and have come to a much deeper place inside of myself, and that is reflected in my relationship, and is reflected in the sheer amount of love that I feel when I think of Kalindi. So, and before kind of being in relationship with Kalindi, I didn't realize that love would get that much more. I hadn't experienced love becoming more. I experienced love being big at the beginning, and then sort of waning through relationship. But actually, with Kalindi, it's just got more and more. And yes, there's been peaks and troughs and all sorts of things. But that's all about how we've dealt with meeting each other and meeting our needs and meeting our desires and all sorts of things. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I was just reflecting on, I mean, gosh, just the subject of love is so multi-layered. And I think one of the things that I observed about love was that I think in the beginning I had this idea that if I just my heart just kind of gushed love and love all over Pete, and just loved and loved and loved, that it's almost like it would somehow kind of solve so many things. And I see it often in relationships where we're just like, oh, but I'm just loving it. But there's also a place where we might be really loving someone, but there's parts which that person has to fall in love with those parts themselves. like no matter how much somebody loves them from the outside. So again, it's a bit like receiving Pete's love and receiving Pete's presence and his care. There were still parts inside me that no matter how much that was being poured towards me, or I was pouring that towards Pete, there's always these parts inside that they only really get satiated or softened or healed by turning that love towards ourselves, turning that same potent love towards those parts inside our own hearts. And I do believe that in this journey of our relationship, because we've also been doing that, I believe that that's also part of what sustains the love that we feel together, is because we're falling in love with those parts that are harder to love, maybe the discordant parts, the parts that we've rejected from inside ourselves. And in this journey, we've very much fell in love with ourselves more. And in that, we fell in love with each other more. So I do believe that, love needs to go both ways.
Yeah. And I think within, especially in physical lovemaking, when we let go of trying to achieve something, when we let go of trying to stimulate each other, when we let go of trying to make something happen for the other, then and we just drop into real intimacy, which is about me being in intimacy with myself and kind of shining that and showing that to the other, not as a doing, but just as a place of awareness, then, and me following my joy in that, rather than having to try and do something to make Kalindi feel something. That changes the whole game of intimacy, and of love. So really dropping into that continually ever-changing flow of love.
I can see the love, honestly, with you guys speaking on the show. So, if every couple listening right now committed to one daily practice after this episode, what would you recommend? I need one answer each for each person. Pete, your answer, Kalindi, one answer.
Okay, great. So for me, I would suggest breathing together. Breathing together, laying down with each other. When you wake up, belly to belly, just your body's touching, and breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, and just and what I would say, actually, no, not even out through the mouth. I'd say breathe in through the nose and hum together. When you hum, you set up a vibration, a resonance in your body. It tones your vagus nerve. It turns off your fight or flight response. It puts you into deep rest and heal mode. So actually, I would breathe in through the nose and hum really long and soft and slow all the way out. And that's an amazing way for bringing your bodies into resonance with each other, and into a deep state of relax and peace and calm. So that's good to use at any point. And we use this when we're making love. We use it when if we've had a rupture and we come to repair that. We use this in all sorts of different situations. The more you hum, actually, whether you're doing it together or not, if you're out driving, hum really long and soft and slow, and just make it's really soft like this. And that has such a massive effect on our nervous system, massive effect on our nervous system. So the more we can actually explore humming, the more we can actually start to really regulate our nervous system. And the more we do it, the less reactive we get and the more responsive we get, because we're coming from a place of deep, deep resonance. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many, but the one that's coming to my mind in this moment is ask better questions. Like, when we ask better questions, we get different answers. So, when we, you might be joining together from a different, coming back from work or whatever, and it's like, often people ask, how was your day? And you might get, yeah, fine, good. But like, what is it we really want to know? Like, what is... Like, if we set this feeling of curiosity, it's not, we don't want to just know about their day. We want to know, who are you right now? What is it to be you right now? I'm curious about your inner depth. The beauty of relationship is you get to visit this person's inner world in a way that probably nobody else does. Like, who are they? What is going on for them? So I'm a real believer in ask a better question, you'll get a different answer. So if you're wanting to get closer to your partner, just play with a different question. Ask different things of each other every day.
And then really listen whilst feeling. Feel with your listening.
Yeah. And also something we said earlier was like, how are you breathing? So if anything gets caught, tight, spinning, triggered, reactive, or just isn't really flowing, how are you breathing? How are you both breathing? Because just a slight change in the moment can make all the difference to the way you communicate. So there's just a few tips for you today.
All right. Thank you so much, Pete and Kalindi. Thank you for such an honest and thoughtful conversation. One of the biggest takeaways from today that I got is that lasting love isn't something that we stumble into. It's something that we have to intentionally nurture. And real intimacy isn't built only through words. It's built through being present, emotional safety, curiosity, and the willingness to keep growing together. Yeah. So for those who would like to connect with you guys, who want to know more and probably uh, learn more from you and what you're building and what you're doing, how can they do that?
Okay, so we with our couples work, we have our livinginlove.co.uk website, and we have a free sort of relationship PDF that people can download for some for some help within and diving deeper into conscious relationship. We also have an online couples relationship development program, which is based in tantra and conscious communication and stuff, which is utterly beautiful. It looks at all sorts of different aspects of relationship, and teaches people new skills in how to operate inside relationship in all of these different areas of relationship. So that's with our livinginlove.co.uk. For contacting me purely on my own, that is naturallyecstatic.com, naturally ecstatic. And that is all about nervous system regulation and how to use your breath to get a much deeper experience in life. Yeah.
And my connection is kalindijordan.com. And my primary work is I primarily work with couples and women around what's got in the way of pleasure. And so I do that in group programs. I do that in one-to-ones. So it's like attending to what's got in the way of self-pleasure, pleasure in relationship, pleasure in your life, pleasure in your intimacy and sexuality. Come and find us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you once again. And thanks to my audience for listening to this episode of Control or Be Controlled. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who believes healthy relationships are worth building. Till next time, I will see you guys. Remember, Don't allow fear, stress, or disconnection control your relationships. Choose connection, choose growth, choose to be in control. Thank you all so much. I love you guys, and I will see you guys again. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kalindi.
Thank you.